Microphone is at the bottom.
Okay, let's see. Let me see how I'm going to do this.
You're already live.
Okay. Let me hold it. Right here.
Hello.
Thank you all for sticking around. Did you all enjoy lunch?
Yeah.
I can talk to you now.
All right, so right now, first of all, I'd like to introduce our moderator for our last panel today. Director of Compliance and Policy Engagement for the Gary Center for to be with us today. The Reverend Cheryl Rivera is a part of the Northwest Indiana Federation of Interfaith Organizations, and also she's working with the Queen Shadow Group in Chicago. And so that's one of the people who will be able to bring a local perspective on issues that are not only going on in East Chicago, but other projects that the Federation and her organization is working on throughout Northwest Indiana. Lastly, I would like to
I can't hold stuff long.
thank you, Reverend Revere, for the work that you have done and continue to do. Also, Thomas Frank, he's a member of Human Strategy Group in Chicago. And so I do want to mention that it is intentional that we definitely have people from Illinois and Indiana on multiple panels today. And so I'm just looking forward for Tammi to moderate this session and from all the various perspectives and helping create some ideas and takeaways that we can use to move forward. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tammi Davis of the Gary Center.
This is a real, so for those of you that are troopers, thank you so much for hanging in there. And as your friend Paul said, I need you to be present with me. I need you to be in the present. No round sleep, whatever that second stage is. Because this is where we get to the whole meat of it, right? So when we start talking about water equity, we need your full attention. This is not something that you can be sleeping on, because we've been sleeping on this for way too long. So it's time for us to pound, stay woke, pound, wake up, whatever your hashtag is. Wake up, stay up, get up, whatever you got to do. We just want to make sure we're going up, right?
Yes.
So we've got a fantastic panel. I know at least two of our panelists very well. I get to know Tom Frank a little better. But I know that they can speak up and speak out definitely for themselves. Both of them are award-winning. So what I'd like to do is have each of our panelists give a little bit more information about their specific organizations that they represent. So this panel is talking about water equity. And here in America, I know we've heard the phrase before, with liberty and justice for all, but sometimes it feels like it's just us for all, right? It's just us in our own groups and our passions, what we want the world to know, and we're advocating for them, right? Even though they don't know it and probably don't appreciate it. But sometimes it is just us for all. So I want to start with Simone and then go down the list with Reverend Cheryl Rivera and then Mr. Tom Frank. Tell us a little more detail about your specific organizations and then some of the involvement that you have around this conversation.
You're going to have to pass these out.
The beauty of working at National Water Federation is
No. When Reverend Rivera gets through.
some of you I've worked with before, seen before, and I'm familiar with the work that you do in conservation. What we're attempting to do, particularly with our urban work, is different, if you will. Generally, I tell people I get the same reaction from black people and white people when I say I live in National Wildlife Federation. Black people go, white people go, there's equal opportunity. With that, what we're looking to do though with our urban work is integrate, I always talk about it, integrate from the streets to the suites, the work in which we are attempting to do so. As we work on invasive species, whether it be Asian carp, ash water, ash we've talked about before, whether it's renewable energy, whatever it is, my job and with the program that we have is to integrate what the communities need into what we are doing. The beauty about the work and the way that I get to operate the program, I find is I work with mostly white people. Isn't that something? Mostly white people. And I get to share with them what the community, Black, Brown, and urban centers are saying that they need, what they prioritize. The Congressional Black Caucus is a part of my responsibility portfolio. National organizations that have African American urban and African American Black, Brown, and urban constituency groups are my responsibility. So staying in touch with them, staying in touch with what they're focused on, and then bringing that to the table, and then the flip, taking what we do, the practices that we do at the National Wildlife, take that to the community and help the community understand how to navigate those nuances, because they're very different, as you know. We tend to operate in we operate in a culture, if you will. I tease at work because we know during meetings when we're going to have food, Simone's going to say something about hummus. I'm tired of hummus. Chicken and then green beans were awesome. That's the level of diversity that we need to be conscious of, even when we are at our workplace and we're partnering.
You're right.
What do you eat?
Yeah.
Everybody don't eat hummus all the time. I mean, I'm just hummus is fine, but we need to diversify our menus.
I got a lot of friends that eat hummus.
That's what we're trying to bring in that part.
I don't like it though.
We have
There's a
working with our affiliates across the country, having a brand across the country. The thing that we want to do better is connect the urban realities, particularly around water, but around infrastructure, wildlife. How do we engage and mix wildlife into urban centers? What does that look like with coyotes in Chicago? What does that look like when you have P-22 mountain lions in LA? How do you work with that? How do you do that? And then how can we extract themes and connect what these cities need with things like what rural areas need? Oftentimes there's this pitting of urban and rural when there really are a whole lot of similarities, a whole lot of needs that go together. And so my work, the work that we're doing with the Wildlife Federation, is to do what we do so well better in urban centers and around urban issues.
Okay, Reverend Rivera?
after she gets through talking. Wait a minute. Elizabeth.
I'm Reverend Cheryl Rivera, Executive Director and
After
lead
she gets
organizer
through
of the
talking.
Northwest Indiana Federation of Education Organizations, one of the lead organizers of the community strategy. So just a little bit about first of Federation. And the Federation is a community organizing, and I call it almost an institution because we've been around for about 25 years. The area that we focus on is Lake Porter and Polk County. Most of our work, however, has been in Lake County, predominantly in Gary and East Chicago, some in Annan. And what we do is organize congregations, and I tell folks, faith-based organizing gauge my faith eats. And it is extremely important that we have folks of faith involved in social movement, social action, social justice, the whole fight around equity and opportunity, making democracy real for everyone. I got involved with the Federation as a resistive Christian, very resistive. Just a little bit of history. My first meeting and involvement with faith-based organizing, my pastor at that time, I was not in the preaching ministry. I had resistance to that as well. I'm a person, I'm either all in or all the way out. You know where I'm coming from. But I went to a meeting on a Saturday of various faith-based groups and congregations, Christians, Muslims, and Jews in Gary, in the very early 90s. And I went there and I thought it was fantastic. They were doing a training, an all-day training about power and self-interest. Now, as a Christian, we are taught that it's not about my self-interest. So I thought it was great, the diversity in the room, but I went back and I told Pastor McCutcheon, I said, I do not have time to be bothered with crazy white people. And I would suggest that you send somebody else because I don't have time for that. God has a sense of humor. So not much later, I was
It'll make you come
called,
full
and
circle.
I am a Baptist. I consider myself a Baptist because I am not your traditional Baptist. Ordained. God has a sense of humor, and when after I was licensed to preach in 96, Reverend McCutcheon sent me back to the same training, and I left that training that day chairing the fundraising committee for the Federation and raised $32,000 for them, and I've never looked back. Never looked back. Because what I realized is that I needed all the relationships that I could possibly get, all the power that I could possibly get to do what God had called me to do. And that my work would be, and most of it has been, outside of the church. Cutting across the line of race, class, religion, and geography to make sure that it is all about the order and the opportunity work for everybody. And so the Federation has been involved in a number of fights to make sure that there's equity and opportunity. The big fight recently was the fight to stop the GEO private or profit prison to locate across from the Gary Airport, and we beat them.
Yay! We did.
Stop them. And I believe that looks like somebody who's black or the name Rivera certainly has no business, and black folk have no business being against any immigrants or the issue of immigration, considering our history of slavery, and to try to use and pit one oppressed group against another is just kind of antithetical, and it does not fit my moral compass. And so we fight for immigrants' rights. We're now fighting to make sure that the 20,000 folks who have been deported from the Gary, Chicago Regional Airport, that we stop that. We're working on that campaign as well. We fought, the Federation, in fact, is the group in the nation that gave environmental justice its teeth. We are the group because we fought this very institution of which we sit right now, the MPO, nursing, to make sure that environmental justice meant what it said that it was supposed to do. So you have the Federation and a lot of folks that look like me that said public involvement, and you're not going to use federal dollars to disparage and discriminate a group that is historically disparaged. And today we are here in nursing talking about equity, opportunity, and environmental justice. So that's a little bit about.
We fought mostly for regional transportation.
Is the group that Thomas Ray got me involved in. Thomas and I have known each other for a while, but I know that environmental justice campaigns are tough. These things are 24/7.
They are.
And so Thomas had to talk to me for hours and days, even though I live in East Chicago. I've lived in East Chicago since 1979. And I received calls about the mayor throwing people out of West Calumet. Reverend Mayor, what you gonna do about that? I wasn't planning on doing anything about it. Because I'm working on jobs, I'm working on local hiring in Gary. I'm trying to make sure that local hiring takes place, right? We will engage in that. Meeting with the mayor every week. Meeting with Tammi on jobs. I said, I'm not going to. And he talked to me for hours. And of course, I had to do a lot of soul searching and praying about getting involved in this campaign around lead and arsenic in the USS Lead Superfund site in Chicago. And I'm glad that he did, that he called me. And I have been involved. I have not left town, as a matter of fact, since this issue.
You're not going to eat?
It has been 24/7. I don't plan to leave soon. Only on vacation. So, you got some sheets that will be passed out about the community strategy group, the other group that fought to ensure that there was an emergency declaration. We had to fight the mayor. We had to fight it because even though we declared the emergency and evacuated over 1,200 folks from West Calumet in July and then the first meeting in August, it was not until the community strategy group met and began to force him with a list of demands, including declaring an emergency declaration, of which we were able to get first. We dealt with our Vice President Pence, who was governor at the time, who said, no, I expended $100,000 and that's enough for you, and then we were able to pressure him to continue to pursue that, and with HOCA we were able to secure an emergency declaration. We were also instrumental in HB 1344, which was the legislation that led to the funds that are now being used for some of the infrastructure in West Calumet and a number of other things that's going on. But I'm going to stop for now and turn it over to Tom.
That surprises me. There's so much to talk about.
So much to talk
We
about.
only have 45 days. Not 45 days. Right.
Thank you.
I'm Thomas Frank. I married in Chicago about 20 years ago, and I come from a different background than most residents in Northwest Indiana. Just to give you kind of, my great-grandfather was mayor of Chicago during the Chicago fire, and he was involved with, he was one of the great engineers in the 19th century, reversed the Chicago River, of which we now need to reverse again. Some major first-generation industrial projects were really problematic. When I came to Northwest Indiana, I worked with at-risk teens in a program called BAM, Boating, Athletics, and Marine Sciences. And that taught me two things. It introduced me to the community from the street level and some with kids and children and young adults who had problems in their lives. It also introduced me to the water systems in Northwest Indiana and in East Chicago. I was in medical education for about a decade. Vitals of the region, or East Chicago. That's what I was thinking. So I went back and studied urban planning, and then was appointed director of the East Chicago Waterway Management District, which manages the Indiana Shipping Canal, the dredging of that project, the $250 million project, and the Grand Calumet River. They're what is called an area of concern. There are 43 areas of concerns in the Great Lakes that were identified in the late 1980s. East Chicago, or the Indiana Shipping Canal, is considered the most impacted waterway perhaps in the nation, or perhaps even the world. And so that introduced me to a lot of the environmental issues. I was also doing a comprehensive plan for the city at that time, and realized that there were a lot of industries that were globalizing, trying to escape their liabilities in the land, what they left in the land. And they were basically seeing somebody like me who was trying to bring the community to voice to these things, such a comprehensive plan is anything. What it is it's a community plan. It's the community's voice, and so trying to bring those voices to an issue that they have liability. Well, they were really happy about that. So I didn't last very long. BP announced its tar sands refinery, and I kind of came out against it. And I think I lasted maybe a month after I came out against it. But nonetheless, I'm also I started organizing through the Great Lakes region, not only in EJ, but also climate justice, especially because of the infusion of the big tar sands refinery, the largest in the nation, in my community. East Chicago, to recognize. Since then, I started giving toxic tours, and East Chicago has two of the largest industries, two of the most profitable industries in human history, steel and oil. Largest tar sands refineries in East Chicago, largest integrated steel mill in the Western Hemisphere, and blast furnaces in East Chicago, ArcelorMittal and BP. And then we have a long history of industrial legacies. I was also, having known about the water issues, trying to address those. So I became a board member at the Southeast Environmental Task Force on the Chicago side of the border. And one of the things that we tried to work out there in terms of the industrial legacy that was left there, because if you remember that history, it's unlike our history, we've seen an industrial reindustrialization of our lakefront. They saw their industries mothballed and shut down, and they're being left as landfills. So what we were trying to do there, and I think we've heard some of those discussions earlier, is we developed a community-based green industrial economic corridor. Is that we as a community started developing that. We didn't want dirty industries to make choices for us to come in and what they were going to do. And that's something we're going to be advocating here. When we think about water here in Northwest Indiana, one of the things to kind of recognize, just the big players in the room, is 96% of our water usage in Northwest Indiana, in the three-county region, is industry. Residential use of water resources here is only 4% of those uses. People don't quite understand that dynamic. Indiana has really relaxed regulations. Indiana ranks #1 in the nation for toxic releases into its waterways. That's a real problem. Our lakefront, we have 45 miles of lakefront exposure. About 3/5 of that is a gated industrial community. So something that we're trying to have to deal with. There's an estimated, in my community, there's an estimated 16.8 million gallons of oil floating on my water table on the southern shores of Lake Michigan in what's called the Calumet Aquifer. So there are lots of issues that we're doing. What we've been trying to work with and working with Reverend Rivera, I've been agitating Reverend Rivera for several years. I got her out to, when BP announced its, or when they finished its tar sands refinery, a month after that, they decided they were going to tear down Marktown. And it's a historic district in East Chicago that BP moved across the street from. It was never there. This is not something that happened in the 19th century, years ago.
Right.
And they moved right across the street from a National Historic District and then announced that they're going to tear it down. So we agitated the Sierra Club in Chicago to get the No KXL, the No Keystone Pipeline rally in Marktown to bring attention to that. And since then, I brought Reverend Rivera to that to speak, and Pastor Streetemeyer and several others in the faith-based community in Northwest Indiana. So what the Community Strategy Group has been with the Superfund, that's been something I've been giving tours of for the last 10 years. It's nothing new. It's just something that hit the media's attention, and that's something that now people are agitated about and working on. When I look at myself and what we've been doing, I'm kind of like catalyzing action. I'm not really the organization. I don't really I try to fill in gaps that are missing. And for the last 10 years, we've had a lot of misleaders in Northwest Indiana when it comes to our environmental resources. So when we organized the Community Strategy Group, we brought the faith-based community, the environmental community, which at that time was considered, smoke meant jobs. But now, after the Superfund site, smoke now means poison. Right? So we've really changed the metaphor here. And so the activist was kind of the person who was threatening jobs before. So we had the activists, environmental activists. I organized the Break Free Midwest at BP, where 41 of us got arrested. I married in with Reverend Rivera in the faith-based community, and National Nurses United, Sheila Garland, the three of us, bringing those resources together, a national organization like National Nurses United, somebody who really understands the local politics and all the legislators and how to agitate. She has taught me so much. One of the things she'll teach you in this is tension is good. Tension is good. So conflict is not to be avoided. So we're going to work. What has been a wonderful thing about having this conference and having the Faith CUC host this, what we saw in the first two panels were people that were traditionally thought of as in conflict, voices that were conflicted. But for the first time, we're seeing a renewal of this space. We've got community organizers in the room and community action groups in the room with engineers, whether they're environmental engineers or water engineers or whatnot. I have a saying that when it comes to engineers, academics, and bureaucrats, they often get involved with what I call the work-rigor error. If it's not worth doing, it's not worth doing well. They tend to do a lot of worthless things well. it really takes a lot of the community to really inform a lot of the decisions and what's in those populations that are being affected. And I think what we're starting to see here is everybody talking. And we're going to start working things out.
Thank you so much for that. And so for the NAACP, the National Office of the NAACP has an Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. And so in one of the reports that they released, they said that race was the #1 indicator, right? That race was the #1 indicator as to where placement of toxic facilities are here in the U.S. So race is always a part of the formula. It's always a part of the equation, whether we know it or not. We're always on the receiving end and not on the proactive end. And so when we talk about how do we make it relevant and important to the urban communities, I think that's a very important discussion that we need to get right into. It's interesting when you talk about Asian carp. I serve on the Equity Advisory Committee for the Healing Our Waters Great Lakes Coalition, and I think there are a lot of POW members that are here. For you all that are members, Todd and everybody, don't be shy, don't be ashamed, don't make me call you out. Everybody, call everybody. But from the House perspective, right, as a parent organization, if you will, that oversees over 150 member organizations, they recognize the importance of having an equity conversation when it comes to water quality and environmental issues. And I'm sure some of that resulted from the intentional agitation from our very own Simone Lightfoot. So when you're at the table, you can make things happen. You can bring the conversation to the people that make the decisions, right? So I remember at the most recent conference, there was a lot of discussion about Asian carp. And I remember there was an individual who said, Tammy, I went to this community meeting, we were talking about Asian carp, and it looked like everything was going over everybody's head. I think it was at a church, and he felt as though it wasn't being well received. And I said, well, I can tell you, I have no clue about Asian carp. I said, so tell me a little bit more about Asian carp. And he mentioned that they're basically feeders. You know, they like eat up the catfish.
They do.
There you go. I said, so when you go into the Black community, you need to talk about catfish. So when Grandpa and all of his retirees that have worked so hard to purchase that boat, and they get up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and 5 of them go out and get their catfish. When you go into our community, you still there won't be any more catfish. So what are you going to do, man, when there's no more catfish? And that also impacts some of our local restaurants.
They're scavengers
where
anyway.
They go fishing
I don't
for
eat
their
it.
catfish. They bring it back, scale it, cut it up, and we buy it at Sharps or whatever restaurant that's in our community. But you need to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
So when we have a conversation about how do we keep the urban communities, because we represent black, brown, yellow, green, the whole rainbow of cultures and ethnicities here, how do we make it relevant? How do we keep our communities engaged, right? So it seems that we need to educate to elevate, and we need to inform in order to ignite. So how do we do that on a consistent basis? I was born and raised in East Chicago and grew up about 2 blocks from West Calumet, the 4 blocks of Calumet, Alexander, Maryville, Belleville, Cook, and Kennedy. And for decades, from my grandparents' era, they always knew it was a problem. And so now, 90 years later, there's all this discussion about cleaning up East Chicago, there's lead in the water. Well, there was lead in the water 90 years ago. We had air quality issues years ago in that community, but it wasn't important then because we also had leaders that was not making it relevant to our community.
Exactly.
So how do we have that discussion now so that tomorrow, 2 years from now, even though I know we'll still be fighting this. But how do we keep it consistent so that this is top of mind inside the homes in our communities?
I think one thing I'd say is it's important for us to think about redefining many of the things that we used to define a certain way. Consistency to certain members of the audience, maybe one person or two people, the same 5 people doing that effort over and over and over, showing up all the time, showing up and doing the work. When it may need to be 5 people showing up one time per week. It's sort of like when you look at the protesters, the young people who protest, we call them pop-up protesters, right? Because, and let me just say, the report you were speaking of is called Cold-Blooded. If you all want to look it up, COAL. There's a report that the university put together, it's a powerful report. But we would talk about these pop-up young people coming for protests, and in the civil rights conversations, it was seen as this bad thing. What's protest coming to these young people just show up and then they're gone? That's just horrible. It's not really a protest. And that is one way to look at it. The other way I say is, well, if they pop up once, let's make sure we get enough that cover the whole 7 days that we're going to protest. So we have a group Monday, a group Friday. So we had to change the way we view things. I was reading a study the other day and it talked about young, I'm talking on the young side, because that's really who we need to make sure we bring into the fold for future purposes, and we can talk about some of those older heads for right now later. But it's important when we look at these studies. I was sharing with Anna, we have to do a better job at the social science overlays in the work that we do. And the example I give is when I get to work with mayors and city councils to work on a transportation issue, whether it's Cincinnati streetcars, whether it's M1 rail in Detroit, in New Orleans, any city I'm in. They're working on these issues, but it's through the lens of right now. And so they talk about a streetcar that started 10 years ago in conversation, finally came to fruition recently when they cut the ribbon, and now young people are using Uber and Lyft.
Right.
And so now the conversation is, wow, this group that we thought would use these things, they changed their social value structure in so many ways. The study also talked about how young people don't value ownership as much as they value experiences. They don't need to own a house. They need to rent a condo downtown on the water where the restaurants are, and they can up and leave if they so need to go get another job somewhere else in so many years. They don't need to buy a bike. They can use rideshare. They don't need to buy a car. They can use Uber. And so for the generation who grew up where you value ownership, you had good credit if you owned a house. It meant that you had a different stake in the community. You owned it, and renters were viewed.
It means that you had collateral.
Well, that's changing.
You get a lot of
and
client
we have
credit.
to change with that too. And so if we put
Line
our
of
programs
credit.
together using the same values of our generation, expecting to get new folks with different values, different thoughts, different approaches to things, we're going to be in trouble. I was on the school board in Ann Arbor, and last night at the school board meeting, we were talking about our strategic planning. And I'm sharing with my colleagues that we need to be looking at the graduate of 2017, the 10 years that they would go off to college, have their good times, get married, and then 5 years or so after that, have their first child in our Young Fives program. So we're not planning only for today. What does that graduate of 2017 value? What do they think of? How do they believe in parenting? So when they come back to us years down the line, those are the norms we're going to have to be working within. For instance, they're not going to want one schedule that all the students in the school district abides by. They're going to want more floating schedules like you have in college. So how do we as school districts prepare for that? Those are the kind of they want curriculums that are very individualized. They don't want the standard everybody fits and needs. How do we deal with that when we don't have teachers unions being respected anymore, when we don't have the resources coming in, when things are different, how do we project? And the challenge for us that are in charge of things is, how do we project into the future about things we don't even know? We didn't know about Uber 10 years ago when we were planning streetcars. And so it's important we bring young people in. It's important we work with the academic community, our universities. We have great research in the Great Lakes region. We need to use those and tap into it. And then the other thing I'll say, and I'll let others talk, The thing that challenges me most, well, not most, I have several challenges. One of the big challenges.
Outside of hummus?
Right. One of the many challenges is getting my colleagues, many of them in this work, not necessarily at our organization only, but in the work in general, to think outside of the grant.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I worked at the NAACP 20 years. We didn't ever have money. Ever. We just didn't. We just didn't have the money we needed to do the work we did, yet we were still the #1 civil rights organization in the world. We didn't operate that way. And so when I came into the green world, and I say, well, why did you do that? Well, there's a grant for that. Wow, y'all get to, that's a privilege. That is some privilege. You just get to work on what a grant funds you for.
Can you open this for me?
And like, y'all don't, you get the grant to do A, you don't naturally leverage. Okay, I'm gonna do A, but I'm also gonna do some money. I'm gonna do some B, some C, some D too. I've seen the community, even urban communities, stretching a dollar is easy as pie, is innate and instinctive.
Yes.
But in more privileged communities where I live, the box gets in the way.
Yes.
We're only supposed to do this. Example, I asked one of my colleagues, she said, oh, Simone, we just made some 14 hires. This particular entity had just made non-African American, but in the heart of New Orleans. Well, Simone, can you help us figure out how we can reach out to the community better? 14 hires and nobody of color. Okay, let's start with some real basic stuff. But the other piece was, I said, well, why don't you make relationships with your local NAACPs, your urban league? We don't have a grant for that. Well, all right. So then I had to break it down. How about, since they meet on Wednesday, the first Wednesday from 1 to 2, you take your lunch from 1 to 2 the first Wednesday. Go to the meeting. No money required, no grant required, and to watch the light bulb go, oh, okay. I'm like, wow. So before we, some of us, before we get to do outside work, policy work, advocacy work, all this other good stuff, we got some internal family business to handle. And we have to get to my white colleagues. Let me be very specific to you. Y'all got to be okay not being the subject matter expert on everything. You got to be okay not being in charge. You got to be okay not knowing the end before you begin. You got to be okay just going, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just do this. That's how black and brown folks do it all the time. We don't know half the time how we don't do much of what we do, and thank God for a thing called tithes. Because I'm serious, because if you look at our bank statement, you would know how we pay our bills. But
they're paying you.
But because we do what is demanded of us, it's doable. So to my white colleagues, if you really want to learn and improve and do things different and effectuate change in a different way than you've been able to do, because if you were able to do some of this, it would be done. There are some areas that there is struggle, and those are the areas I tend to find a great deal of, not necessarily resistance, because that's what I love about my green white colleagues, because they get it. I don't have to push like I did in civil rights, social justice. That was a whole different conversation. They get it, but they don't know how to connect the dots. And so what I hear a lot of is, well, I don't see. Well, I'm not sure about, and I always say, in your ignorance and blindness, defer to me. If you don't see and you don't know, and I'm telling you what black and brown people need, I've had them say, well, I don't know about that. I think we should keep doing. Well, if you don't know, defer to me. And that's particularly white men over 50. Ooh, that's a secret. White men over 50, to get them to concede that they got to give up power and give up the budget control. They'll give you some power, but they need to control that budget, and that's a hard thing for my colleagues to do in black and brown communities. Let them determine the way they are going to work their own research. So we have a lot of internal work to do. We are right for the work, and we can get it done because we have the hearts for it. We already know what justice. We already get it. So I'm not, again, I love working with this particular crowd. But we got to do better connecting dots, not resisting when the very people you ask to come and help you, not resist. And when they tell you, well, how about this? Well, no, we tried that. Well, how about this? Oh, no, I don't think that would work. Well, how about this? I'm not sure about what. Okay. Do you really want to change? Do you really want to share some of the resources? And the last thing I'll say, you can't say you believe in equity organization. And when we bring new organizations to the table so we can diversify, we need to take $1 from each of you to give the $1 to the new people. I've seen where organizations, I was a call, one example, I'll put that up front. On the call, we got to bring some more black and brown organizations in. It was in Ohio. conversation around Ohio. You gotta bring some more black and brown folks to the table, so we're gonna take equivalent, I'm using, just throwing around, we're gonna take $1 from each of you all's $1,000 and give it, so we have enough for these groups. The conversation turned to, well, how come I can't go get the training that that group will bring to the table and be able to keep the whole money that I've been getting? How come I just, so we're supposed to stop the whole mission. I'm a military girl, they're English, Air Force. Stop the whole mission, impede the mission, just so you can go get training? Wow, but you down for inclusiveness. Inclusiveness means you're gonna give up something. So make sure you already predetermine how much or whatever you're willing to give up, including some of the space in your newsletters. If you want to help Flint, make sure that you list something about a Flint story every month in your monthly newsletter. Give an update on Flint. Keep it on the radar. There's some things that we can do like that that are within our own purview. So that's my answer to your, my short answer to your question.
That was good.
Before you respond to that, Reverend Vera, I'd like you to add another component into that in terms of accountability, right? So while we are rebranding and how we are making sure that we are marketing the conversation in a way that is inclusive, how do we also hold the receivers of what we are portraying accountable to that? And I also want to add one point to something that Simone had said. I don't necessarily think that inclusion means you have to give up something, because in that framework, I think that mindset is already there, right? So we start talking about diversity and inclusion, because I work in the area of labor and contract compliance, that's what I hear all the time. You want us to contract with minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses. Immediately, it is what we're going to give up. But there is enough for everybody, right? If the contract is 100% and we're only asking you for 25%, you've got 75% more to do whatever you want to do, right? But the 25%, it is the floor and not the ceiling. So inclusion literally means we're all sitting here in this room. You all have a voice. You determine how included you're going to be. You may be included at the point of raising a question. Your level of inclusion might be sitting here representing your organization or representing your community. When we look into this room, we also have diversity. We have diversity in terms of race, ethnicity, demographics, geography. You live in various parts of Lake County, various parts of the country. So diversity is in this room. You all have an opportunity to be included. The question is on the level of engagement. You all can be engaged at a different level and engaged in different respects. So as we are rebranding the conversation around environmental and climate justice, now how do we hold individuals accountable? Like nursing, right? How do we hold them accountable to what we're going out into the communities to tell them? And that could be a policy change. It could be legislative. It could be, you standing outside with 12,000 other pastors.
Well,
Baptist Coastal.
there is a process that we must go through before we stand outside and protest. And the piece that is very important is education. Everybody has to be educated. Folks need to really understand what environmental justice means. And I have a very simple answer of that. I do a burdens benefits analysis. A burdens benefits analysis. A burdens benefits analysis.
Burden.
Okay?
B-U-R-D-E-N.
What that means is,
I said it.
you gotta figure out who is being cut in and who's being cut out. Who is going to benefit from the public policy decision, whether it's around water, whether it's around land use, whether it's around jobs, whether it's around transportation, whatever that is, in order to assess the environmental justice component, just do a burden benefits analysis. For example, in thinking about NERC, let's just use NERC as an example. One of the things
Can you
that
hold this
we had a
forward?
tremendous amount of concern about years ago, and it still exists,
okay, I got
when
it.
you look at how public transportation dollars are used, is that there are millions of dollars that get used for highways. And one of the things historically that happened is that poor communities were dissected, cut up. That's how the highways work, are discriminating and tearing up communities, historical communities. And there was no money being spent on public transportation, on public transit. The majority of folks who are historically disparaged, and we wanted to get
Miss
regional
Cats.
public transit in order for folks to get access to jobs that were in
With
the
Teresa
first
Perez.
and second rate
We
suburbs.
football NERC.
Folks who lived in East Chicago, Hammond and Gary, and of course the bus went across the street from South Lake Mall. You all who are from the area, you know what I'm talking about. Didn't go in, but it stopped. And so we were concerned that how do we get folks to have access at least to those entry-level jobs? And so we fought the federal certification of the MPO here, nursing,
Yep. because
because we wanted authentic public engagement, and that is around policy. Bring us to the table when the
Right.
policy is being made. When you're putting together the 2020 plan, 2040 plan, 2060 plan, don't bring me to the table after you already had it published. Because then I don't have an opportunity to have the voices and the concerns of those who are going to be impacted by the policy.
Right.
So we get folks to understand what environmental justice means. And in this whole notion about water and water equity and the issues, there are power arrangements. And it's important for us to get folks to understand that folks who are going to be impacted by the decisions that are made by NERC or decisions that are made by governmental agencies and quasi-governmental agencies, regional development authority, cities, etc. Those decisions are going to impact folks. They're just not pieces of paper. And so it's important for folks, just regular folks. You do not need a PhD in order to become a powerful advocate and a powerful leader to impact decisions that are made about your community. As a matter of fact, I'm not looking for somebody, a white man on a white horse to rescue me.
Amen.
I'm not looking for that. What we're looking to do is to empower folks who have been historically told, you don't matter, your voice doesn't matter, I'm the expert, listen to me. So that what we are concerned about is making sure that regular folk understand that you have the power to do extraordinary things and to impact decisions that you have to live with. Public policy, and when folks tell me, I don't want to get involved in politics, Reverend. So I said, well, every decision that is made is a political decision. The cost of your bread is a political decision. Somebody has to decide that. What you pay for water is a political decision. So that we all are involved in politics. This water cost is a political decision. Oh, we heard that this morning, right? This is a political decision.
This is Nestle, by the way.
I saw that. That's why I stopped by.
You mean tell me Ice Mountain is
Yes, I
Nestle?
saw that on the back.
Oh
Yes,
my
I see that.
God. I'm
So
gonna be
that,
buying that.
that in fact, it can only be sustained if people are involved. And we must be willing to hold public officials accountable.
And I love Ice
that
Mountain.
means that it requires courage to go up against those who have been viewed as having all the answers and all the power.
Amen.
And it requires consistency, persistence, vigilance, and not accepting no. When we were fighting for the emergency declaration in Chicago, and it was not the mayor who did that. Folks need to understand that.
It was not the mayor.
It was not the mayor, it was us, the people.
Was the people,
Who
yes.
said, we want an emergency declaration declared for this community.
That's right.
It took him months, he wasn't even meeting with the community that
That's
was
right.
being impacted until we forced him to do so.
That's right.
So what public officials will say to you, listen to me very carefully, because I believe there are those who want to do the right thing. What they'll say to you and say to me, Reverend Vera, make me do it.
And that's what you have to do.
And I say, I don't have a problem with making you do it. I was born to make you do it. So that we demand accountability and we demand transparency. Don't try your smoke and mirrors with me, with us, okay? Don't do a bait and switch. That's why it's important for the folks who are being impacted, regular people, to be at the table at every level of the policy making. And we can sustain that if only we are engaged at the table. Before the ordinance is written, make me a part of it. We were a part of writing HB 1344. They didn't write the bill and give it to me and say, well, no. Before it became a bill, this
Wrote
is
the
what
bill.
we need in this bill.
That's what we
And
sat
we
down
had
and
to
negotiated
We
on.
knew it was not the best, but it was a start.
That's
So
right.
now what we're gonna be doing is meeting in the next few weeks with our state legislators and saying, this is what we want in terms of our legislative agenda. We are concerned, we're gonna be talking to them about an environmental justice piece of legislation for Indiana, because Indiana does not have an environmental justice law. We're going to be talking to them about a moratorium on toxic landfills for East Chicago and Gary. We're going to be talking to them about legislation to subsidize lead pipes in the houses of poor folks. Because it costs $10,000, and as someone said this morning, you can replace the lead lines outside, but what about all the lead inside the house? So we don't want you to subsidize corporations, subsidize the people who vote for
Amen.
us.
Right.
And we'll
She
hold
always
it
says
down.
that with a smile. She always ends it with a smile. So, and thank you so much for that, Reverend Rivera. So, Tom, I'd like for you to add, additionally, your perspective, now that we've talked about how we're going to communicate that out to the population, hold them accountable to the recipients of that information. And so from the grassroots campaign level, right, we're talking about people power versus political power. People pushing the agenda. It's basic how a bill becomes law. This is like government 1, 2. So in looking over your campaign fact sheet, I see where you use a very familiar term from Shirley Chisholm, who I love, where you say that your organization is unbought and unbossed.
All right.
Right.
So when we start talking about grassroots and about how you're presenting the issue, right? How do we get to that whole people power? Because you reached out with your internal people power radar and grabbed Reverend Rivera and won't let go. And I know that Simone has made some treks over into East Chicago as well. So we're all one big happy family here, right?
Yeah.
So how do we continue to emphasize and grow that people power, that we are really pushing the politics and not the politics continually to push the people and sometimes push them out in the case of
Well, baseline is solidarity. I think that's the base, and also broad coalition with groups. But I want to speak a little bit about the EJ. There is no actions that all the staff I gave you and that have been articulated here are in terms of bad environmental issues occur in communities of color, disparaged economically and in many other ways. It's no accident that housing complex is built on a levee farm. And it's no accident I'm a white male over 50, right? I do
Simone
have.
doesn't like you, by the way.
I have to address the privilege. I real, and white males do dominate in conversations. They want to talk and they want to have the last word.
They tried to.
So, yeah.
And she says, move over with a smile, right? Guess who's coming to dinner, breakfast, and lunch?
If you live in a community like mine, if you don't, let's just say you don't live outside of my community, you don't live in Hobart, a white community, and you're talking about my community of color, but you live in my community, I can't get clean air, clean water, clean land on my own voice. I have to empower the women of color in my community and those who actually disparage. Their voices have to rise up so I can get what I need. So I have an interest that's tied to them. And I haven't separated everybody. Usually in the last year, reporters will ask me, why did you just move out? Why did you leave your kids here, raised here?
So my kids say, move out.
A professional person of privilege, I could move to a lot of other communities that don't have these risks. But then I would abandon a lot of things. So we're in solidarity because our interests are tied together. It's not an easy thing because it's not easy suffering from these threats that I can't get my legislators or my leaders to listen to me by myself. We have to work together and in broad coalitions. The other thing, and there's a lot more complexity to white privilege, and it's real serious. The other thing is inclusion, and just last night, the Community Strategy Group partnered with Moms Clean Air Force and the Sierra Club, which has really been changing their dynamics. And what we did is we brought communities throughout this region, from the southeast side, East Chicago, Gary, Michigan City, and Elkhart, Indiana, women mostly, almost entirely, to speak about the environment in our region. And what was powerful about that is it's not the wonk in the room that's dominating the story, it's their experience. And they're telling it, and they have every right for us to take action based on our own experience. I don't have to tell you the science of chloroform or any chemical or the reaction. I don't have to know the legal actions and maneuvers that have to have as much of a voice. That was a very powerful night. And another thing is, in terms of generation, over the East on the southeast side with the Ban Petco Coalition, and also a board member with me on the Southeast Environmental Task Force started a group called the Rebel Bells. It's a intergenerational women's collective that's really powerful. We've got a couple of them right here sitting with us, with Elizabeth and Charlene. And what's powerful about that is they work together. They have lots of lessons. Somebody had said last night, Rebel Bells is like a marriage between the Girl Scouts and the Black Panthers.
If they had a baby, if they had a baby, if they had a baby.
If they had a baby.
If they had a baby.
Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't hear that one last night.
The Rebel Bells, we, with the Community Strategy Group, and that's an EJ movement. We're working with environmental justice and climate justice. We went and brought East Chicagoans to DC with the climate justice movement. It was the Rebel Bells that did a lot of the fundraising for that, and they all came out as well. I can't, when I'm looking across the region, when I see all my neighbors and everybody's voices rising, and that's, I think that's all I can say. I mean,
I'd like to add
Bless you.
something that relative to building broad-based coalitions. It is, in fact, we have a bottled water campaign. We understand that that is a Band-Aid solution. It is a Band-Aid solution for clean drinking water in the Superfund site and the senior agriculture building in East Chicago. It has been broad-based coalition with folks, white folks, who live outside of East Chicago. We have been supported totally. That campaign is run, Wanda Hagorgios, who couldn't be here today, a Latino chair of Blue Black for Indiana, lives in East Chicago, is chair of that committee. And we work so closely, though, with Blue Valpo, Frank Shapansky, who is the facilitator of water, a the Rotary Club, from Hammond, from Munster, from Chesterton, Valparaiso, Lowell, all over. Those are the folks, Indivisible, Northwest Indiana. So many groups that are outside of East Chicago who have donated over 400,000 bottles of water that we have distributed so that folks who live in the Superfund could have clean water. And this broad-based coalition now, we are working now, we brought in Paul from DC. We're planning now for a safe water summit at IUN in Gary. And all of those folks, Frank Shapansky, I wish he were here. Frank has been from Frank Shapansky, Mary, Harzak, white folks who are committed as well to environmental justice and committed to water equity for the folks who live in East Chicago. So that the key for sustainability is building a broad-based coalition of black, white, brown, red, and yellow, city, suburban, and rural. That's the key. Christian, Muslim, and Jew. That's the key. That let there be no divisions among us, because the reality of it is that we all need water. Amen. Right? Yes. We all, water is life.
I just want to introduce a person who's been very quiet here, but I happened to speak with him briefly, and he's from New Jersey, and is run on a Sean, who is run on a big platform regarding water. I just wanted him to be acknowledged.
And Sean, he's here because of the strategy group, because of Paul is here because of the strategy group, because of Thomas working with us and bringing all these folks together. And we appreciate that. So I wanted to say the key to sustainability is building broad-based coalitions, recognizing that tension is it's necessary. Folks, I love tension. And I love agitation. And it means that I have to build a relationship with you that's deep enough and broad enough so that I can agitate you. Because agitation is a discipline of love.
Amen.
Pentecostal, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah. Yes.
I want us to, I'd like us, because I did say already that we get, I think some of this we get, like preaching to the choir here, but the choir does need choir rehearsal. Right. It absolutely does. And so in that rehearsal, talking about the how because I think we get it. How do we do it? We gotta have elephant conversations. Absolutely. What I find so often is I'm a military girl. I like dealing with the cracks in the fuselage. Where are the problems? Let's just focus on the problems. Unfortunately, too many times when you go to have those conversations, my colleague or the people in this sphere of green will stand up and say, but we've been doing good things too. Oh, yeah. You're just being negative. I'm like, wow. So we can't talk about the elephant because we're being negative. Okay, so everybody can't handle the truth. Y'all remember that, right?
Say it.
Everybody can't, and so we need to have some first conversations with people who can handle the truth, who value the truth, who guide themselves based on the truth, and then from there we do better. If you're one of those people, this is just a litmus test. If you're one of those people who always have to stand up and tell people the good stuff that was done too, you're part of the problem. Yeah. You're part of the problem when we're having the hard conversations. And a friend of mine said, Simone, but what we hear you saying is, ain't nothing y'all done, been no good, no time ever. That's what some people hear when you say, let's deal with this problem.
That's right.
I have a husband, so I learned that. And I'm serious. I didn't realize I've been married 20 years. 20 years. 25 years. Our daughter's 20, so 5 years. 25 years. And I've only recently realized if I say that one thing I didn't like, he hears he don't do nothing right. I'm just nagging all the time.
I
And
have
I'm
that
like,
problem.
I was talking about the way you edge the grass this time. You just love the cut. The edging was just a little, but he heard that the flowers was messed up, the fertilizer was wrong. And so I'm learning how to talk in a way that, but it's important that we know what people hear when we say what it is that needs to be said. But we do need to have the hard conversation, and you all are up for it, it seems like. I heard it. But we gotta do better with that. And to those in this green world, resist standing up saying somebody's being negative or that some good work has been done too. We know that. We ain't talking about the good stuff. We're talking about the stuff that needs more work. And allow for that to be the conversation without you being the apologist for that. And I'll go for your next question.
I want to add one more thing. There's this idea that just connecting it to like in power structures is that I said something, I did something, but the results didn't turn out right. But my intentions were good, and I think we have to focus on results here and get past our intentions. We can hurt people, but still have good intentions. Privilege does that an awful lot very easily. It's able to not recognize its problems. And so intentions, I didn't intend to do that, but I have this whole white supremacy behind me that supported my actions. But I didn't intend to do anything interpersonally with you. Those are some things that we have to start to look at as those structural problems.
But you can only do that if you build a relationship.
Yeah.
You cannot agitate people that you don't have a relationship with, because then you have lost all you've lost them. You've lost them. You've got to have a relationship that's deep enough. And I really believe that it is all based upon me being able to love you through all of that, regardless of what those differences are. Because there are some who say love makes this harder. You know, loving the community, loving the work, loving the water, loving the environment. But love is the thing that sustains you. It is the thing that keeps me coming back. And it has to be the thing. You got to find that thing that allows you to stay at the table, even when you don't agree with some of the stuff that's being said, because there's a big picture. And we're all going in the same direction, and we all care about the environment, and we all care about, everybody wants clean water, clean soil, clean air. We may go about it a little bit differently, but it's all, the key is that we've got to build those relationships. We have to.
Any questions? Papa?
Reverend, just to continue that, how do you build a relationship when it's always us against them? It's them, we are the ones affected, they are the ones polluting. How do you build a relationship with people that don't want to build a relationship with you?
Who are the us?
Well,
And
we all drink water,
we all
but
drink
some
water.
seem to think that it's not affecting them, or some are living in communities that are not brownfields or superfunds, and those are the folks we want to connect, to bring back to our side. So it seems like a very, very difficult task to be able to, if you talk to people that are affected, they'll all rally around you, except the unengaged ones. But the ones that are at fault, how do you get them other than a lawsuit?
It is agitation, but first, it's getting to know that person, and what I say is finding out what's the self-interest of that person. You have to find out what that person really cares about, okay? Find out what are the things that that person cares about. So you do, and this is organizing one-on-one. You do a one-on-one with the person, okay? Don't try to out the person or embarrass the person in a public setting and you've never had, if you want to build a relationship. Now, if you don't want to build a relationship, you can go hard and tough from day one. But if you want to build a relationship, sit down, talk with the person, call them and say, I'd like to have a conversation, okay, for about 30 minutes. I just want to get to know you. And you schedule that. I'm being very intentional. If you want to build a relationship with somebody, you got to do it intentional. Okay? And then you go and you talk with that person 30, 45 minutes and figure out what are the triggers. What are the things? And maybe you don't talk a lot about water at first or whatever the issue is, because you gotta get there. You gotta build a little bit of relationship in order to get there to figure out what that person cares about. And then you come back and you talk to maybe a colleague, etc. Well, I went over, talked to this person, we met, we had coffee, and I kind of found out some things that were going on. You gotta figure out if it's worth your time investing in developing a relationship with that person. And everybody in this room, it's important for me, okay? So that I have to say that I've got to schedule some time, and it may take a little bit of time. Now, if you're talking about a corporation, is not a person.
Thank you.
A corporation is not a person. But if you're talking about a person, then you want to develop a relationship with the person. And the person can be very different. It can be a person of privilege. For me, I'm always trying to figure out what is the moral compass of that person. There's got to be something that that person cares about.
An analogy of the person.
Okay, so I really care about water, and maybe I find, oh, this person has a child. Maybe the child has some challenges. Maybe their friend's child has some challenges. Maybe you can talk about how water, certain kind of issues. You read this, that it affects learning, lead in the water. Okay, but you got to find a way to figure out what that person cares about. And if it's somebody you want to develop a relationship, or you keep going back to a point that you see you can't turn them. And then you have to do what, or you know, Kenny Rogers say, you got to know when to hold, when to fold up, when to walk away, and when to run.
I would say that one.
That's a white person.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes white people have, you know,
Diverse.
country singers. They have something to say.
I want to add to the answer, Paco. Thank goodness we have a person from the cloth here who is keeping it nice and
All right. Clean.
faithful. I'm a military girl. Let me tell you what I would. We have to fight. Now, I'm with you on the meeting. You sound like you were talking about people who don't want, they done made it very clear already that you have nothing coming from them. In the political climate we're in right now, unfortunately, it's a line in the sand, especially in Washington and in my state legislature that I engage. If there's an R in front of, behind their name, they won't even meet with you. It ain't even about how do you talk to them. So some folk you catch at the elevator. Some folk you catch at the light. Some folk you line up across the Capitol, and so when they leave out their office building and have to walk into the Capitol, all your folk is standing there waiting for them as they come through that process.
And then you get the
wanna make-
polls.
I like several lanes. You want to make it so uncomfortable with your agitators and your protesters that of course he's going to take that meeting with her and sit down 45 minutes, and he better say the right thing, because she's going to look out the window and say, see who down there, they waiting on you. The pressure now is, let me, what's going on now in politics is something we ain't never seen before. And that's why I wanted to touch on what you were saying, Tammi, you talked about consistency. We got to get okay with inconsistency. This stuff ain't consistent that we seeing now. The folks that won these state house races and these governor's races, they did it. We have a transgender that took in Virginia.
Right.
Good
She
deal.
took out a long time. He was over 20, almost 30 years in service, and he professed that he was the #1 homophobe in Virginia. She took him out. And so we are
Marshall, gone.
we are looking, and we've seen this across the country. We saw it in mayor's races, we saw it in gubernatorial, we saw it in state house races. The inconsistency, the ones who ain't never ran before are winning.
Yes.
The ones that don't know nothing about politics are winning. And so we gotta reshape our brains, because between us and the pundits who always want to lay out, this is how you win, and this is how it happens. Oh my gosh, I don't know what just happened. Yeah, you don't know. Yet you still get to be called an expert, which is interesting to me. Because times are changing, and if we don't figure that out and be okay with it. When people tell you, I don't care about X, I just care about Y. You better figure out how to make Y your issue in some way, shape, or form, because people are showing at the election box.
That's right, them
What they
polls.
want, they going for. So y'all can play games if you want. I think we're too safe in many instances, we want to be politically correct. We want to be diplomatic all the time. I believe there's a time for diplomacy, absolutely, but it's a time to fight. It's both, and
Yes,
we have to do a
both
better
ways.
job at meshing the two.
Amen.
So we have like 3 minutes.
Organizing and training
Before we have to wrap it
communities.
up and transition. So what I would like to do, and of course, we want to, but I'm at the pleasure of Brenda and Lakeisha.
Oh my God, I'm
Okay,
sleeping.
Because it says at 2:30, do you want to take,
She's preparing her session, actually.
Okay. All right.
Can I just make one comment based on Simone's comment? I am very proud to pass on what my friend Carolyn told me, that 14 of the 16 elections that were won in Virginia, the other places where populist Democrats came in, were supported by Emily's list.
Yes.
So support Emily's list.
Comment, question?
And we need Emily's list to do better supporting African American elections.
Yes.
Right.
Any of color.
You know, and so maybe a fundraiser in Gary for Emily's list would not be a bad idea.
All right, I hear you.
It would be a great fundraiser if they came with a plan. We're not gonna raise money and not know how it's gonna go.
Pull it out.
Support organizers.
Larry?
Looking around the room, I don't see a bunch of CEOs of all companies saying anything. It's not like they're beating the door down.
Right.
To actually hear what's being said.
Well, we didn't.
And so I think this whole point about access is key. Because those are the people that are making the big decisions that affect our community.
Corporate spies are
So,
everywhere.
And I'll tell you my experience when the few times I've actually been able to sit down and deal with these people, they do not think the way the people in this room think. It's like they live on another planet.
Right.
And they leave, you want to talk about privileged lifestyle, I mean, they keep everybody at arm's length. And it's very difficult to get access, but yet people do live in our community. So if we really had our act together,
You want to sit in my seat and hold this
they'd
one?
be hearing from somebody, whether it's a supermarket, the church, or the movie theater, whatever. There would be somebody whispering in their ear and putting the pressure on them. But we're not doing it.
I would disagree, because those of us who are organizing, don't let my smile fool you. People who really know me know that it can be disarming, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to hold you accountable.
Well, no, I agree.
And it does not mean that I don't know where you live, okay? And for example, a few years ago, we were fighting for jobs, and we were challenging the RDA Federation. And so on the Sunday afternoon, it was during Thanksgiving, we had been given, I think $3,000 from a human rights organization in Atlanta. So we organized about 3 buses, because we were going to, we've been to so many meetings with signs and so forth. We said, okay, on a Sunday afternoon after church, we're going to where they live.
There you go.
And we took buses. We had buses and we had vans. And we even, God is so good that we were able to get into the gated community in Dyer, because they thought that we were holiday singers.
Carolers. Christmas carolers.
So the key is disguising.
Whatever works.
And by the time the police, and they figured out who we were, we had been in front of the president's house with our bullhorns, and we had done our action. And we were headed out, and of course we saw the sirens coming. And we got out, and it was a police officer, and we told him, well, what we doing? We said, I know they're not paying you enough in Dyer, because we fighting for justice for everybody. And of course, we were able, to go. But the reality of it is being persistent, being creative, and we must organize, educate, and agitate.
Hear, hear.
Thank you so much. I always believe that when we have forums like this, we need to have our takeaways and our call to action. It's not enough just to listen and hear and speak. but if you all, each of you, can take 10 seconds
Ooh.
and give us a call to action. Okay, maybe 20, no more than 30. No more than 30 seconds. For a call to action that we need to take leaving this panel, because the workshop is not over, the summit is not over. But when we're talking about equity and justice and consistency and dealing with the elephant in the room and not caging in our thoughts and our passions because it's politically correct or environmentally or socially acceptable, what is our call to action, our one from each of you, and then we'll take a quick break before we go into our case study. And we'll start with Tom.
I'm trying to balance off call to action with the Poor People's Campaign or November 15th in East Chicago at Riley Park, because we want to
all three
adjust. So let me, Riley Park, November 15th,
Next week.
this next Wednesday at 5:30 at Riley Park in East Chicago. IDEM is hosting a public hearing on Indiana Harbor Coal and Coke. They have been a huge violator of the airshed. Think of a coke oven a mile long, 268 coke ovens lined up, and with the state-of-the-art technology
The wheels are
program
leaking.
they built in 1997, but has never been maintained properly. So they've been, I think they've had over 9,000 air violations in the last 10 years. Unreal. So we, the community, or the Southeast Environmental Task Force, sent public comments for their new air permit through it, and the EPA never responded. So we had to have a petition to get Pruitt to respond. He did respond. So we then sent a letter with our intent to sue Pruitt. He responded a couple of days later with a directive saying you can't sue me.
All right, November 15th at 5:30.
So hopefully you sue them.
And where is it? November 15th at 5:30 where?
At Riley Park in East Chicago.
At Riley Park in East Chicago. Reverend Rivera, your call to action.
I would say that we are involved in trying to organize the state of Indiana. When I say we, the strategy group, folks from Elkhart, South Bend, Indianapolis, around the Reverend William Barber, and the National Poor People's Campaign. And it's important because it begins to take up where Dr. King left off.
Yes.
Around core values of racism, environmental degradation, militarism, the war economy, and what's the other one, Tom?
Poverty.
Poverty, of course. We have to deal with, because all of these issues, it does cut a line right through race and class.
Yeah.
So we would invite you then to join us. We will put the pledge cards online. We need to have 1,000 people in Indiana who are ready to go into direct action. We're starting first, or we're beginning to address the issues of child poverty. Because people care about children, it's easier to kind of talk about that. So what we will do is get the email addresses of everyone here, give that to Lakeisha so that we can send you all a pledge card to pledge, make a pledge that you want to be a part of the national campaign on poverty as a part of a resident of Indiana. We're organizing in 38 states, and we are going to, on April 4th, we'll be in Memphis, Tennessee, caravanning to the place where Dr. King was assassinated, and from May until June, we'll have 40 days of action throughout this nation. It's going to be an exciting year.
All right, Simone, you got a call to action in 10 seconds.
Make some new friends.
Amen. Amen.
Make some new friends.
Amen.
There's some events that have been listed here, so things I'm going to share with you are just individual things you could do. Make sure that you get some cultural competency information.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely. Learn how to be a good ally to the folk you support or like, and be okay acting before you know the end or the outcome.
Hear, hear.
And the church said?
Amen.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Hold on here, Tammy. I've been on this hour and a half.
Getting good exercise there with that left.
No, because my left arm is killing me, and you know what, my neck. I have to have cervical surgery for 6 discs because I fell, and I'm telling you, it is really killing me. But I just wanted to make sure she got this.
Good speaking.
Yeah, just making sure. I'm dedicated.
You got it.